Hello, welcome to Joy of Posting. I'm Rachel Andelman, and I am your host. Therefore, the show could also be alternately titled The Joy of Posting with Rachel Andelman, who is the host of the show. Welcome. Hello, Isabel Hellraiser. It's great to see you. So this is my show where I produce comedy through the art of writing, putting words together until we love them or we hate them in the right way, and then we post them onto the internet for all to see. Hello, and Salt. I love saying people's screen names or handles out loud. If they were, because they're never meant to be said. So it provides me joy to say them, to subvert the expectation that they will remain on the page. And this show, if you've seen it, is all about subverting expectations. And when I said that, I'm like, maybe I should splash this coffee on myself. Wouldn't that be fun? But then I thought, no, not even for the moment it was happening. Certainly not the moments afterward. Hello, Loaf the Wonder Bread. Hello, all those who have watched the show multiple times and continue to return. That to me is exceptional. What a great sense of loyalty. Hello. Today I learned that writing copy for art you made is really hard. Oh no. Writing copy is hard. The hard thing about copy is trying to think about first of all, for me, there's always a level of impatience. And right now I'm just opening up a Google Doc because I did fail to do this in a timely manner before the show started, and we will need that for the show. For me, the hardest part of copy is just that sense that people should already have already bought in from the start. That sense of petulance, like, why do people need to be told about this thing? I know it. I know that it's good, that you should purchase it or go to it or visit it or click on it. Why don't other people know that already? Don't they have the same exact experiences and thoughts that I do? Isn't everything one vast consciousness that's me extended outwards? And the knowledge that copy reinforces that's not true. So copy, for that reason, for me, is always daunting and obnoxious to write. But I think you did a great job, Isabel Hellraiser. Simply trying to write good copy, I think, deserves a great salary and many prizes. A stuffed pig, or if you're a vegan, a stuffed leek. Can you stuff a leek? I don't know if there's a stuffable part of a leek. Drawing a bunch of art. This is going to be the hardest part of this project, me writing 2 sentences about it. Oh no. Isabel, if you would like, if I assume you know me from Twitter, if you'd ever like me to look at your writing or look at your art and let me take a stab at it. Sure, I don't have anything better to do. I'd be happy to help you. I like that I was both like probably simultaneously over generous and also like weirdly condescending and like dismissive in the same sentence. I'm a great communicator. That's why I'm on Twitter. For those who have just sort of stumbled in onto the show, the stream, you're like, what am I watching? What is this about? Why is this woman who clearly cut her own hair 6 months ago in front of my screen, and she still hasn't purchased some sort of green screen on a tea stand to disguise the fact that she's in the most depressing part of her kitchen? Like, what's her deal? Why am I watching her? What's going on? Who am I? What day and year is it? The answer to that is my name is Rachel Andelman, and I am a writer. And I write on Twitter. And I've had a Twitter account since 2008. And now I'm at about, I want to say, 11.2 thousand followers. I am sort of beginning to encroach upon the numbers that one may or may not typically associate with being a big account. You may have seen my work. You may have seen jokes I've written on the front page of Reddit, which feels like a very strange thing to be credited with. But at some point, if you've ever seen some photos of Picasso, or rather some paintings of Picasso that get more abstract as he ages, and then you see someone on Twitter whose face looks like mine, snarkily comment, I'm going to say Picasso didn't age well. If you've ever seen that tweet screenshotted with like 6 different people's usernames as it's been stolen from one site to another, that's mine. Kat says, you're not truly famous until people steal your work. That's true, and you often don't have to be famous for that to happen. It's not stealing, it's the internet. I never expected to get paid for it. That said, if you ever feel like supporting this channel in any way, there are several ways to do that. I might as well do the spiel now. Why not? I'm usually like spiel at the end, spiel at the beginning. I don't know. One way to support this channel is obviously to follow it, and also if you're feeling extra puckish, to subscribe to it. That makes us a little bit of money. We would love to get to the point where we're making enough money that we could like pay our artists or buy some more cameras. I could be at a beach right now if I had some more equipment. These would all be fun things to have. Also paying our artists and, making this a sustainable venture. That's all good. So one way of that is to subscribe to the channel. Another way is to buy our merchandise. Arthur, who is our tech tonight, if he would be so kind, he could possibly post the link to our merchandise website in the comments. If not, I can visit that because I'm on a shared screen and you can take note of where it is. It's the link to it is in our pinned tweet, which I'm happy to show you all later. Thank you, Arthur. Arthur's had a wild day. We've all had a wild day, which I may end up rambling about a bit about soon. But the other way, so those are the first 2 ways to support our channel: subscribe and to buy some merchandise. And the third way is to take a class, because we are also partners with 3weeks.courses, a wonderful website run by our friends who are very smart and very experienced in the art of instruction. And they have gathered a murderer's row of instructors who are teaching various subjects in which they are expert in. And you can take a course in a variety of subjects, whether it's about financial management, playwriting, building characters, feminist literature, RPGs, or how to run a role-playing game yourself, which is its own skill and talent. They have classes on all these subjects and more. So go to 3weeks.courses, and if you like the look of a class, you should take it. They're only 3 weeks, so it's not too big a commitment, but it's just long enough to learn something cool. And during the checkout, if you tell them we sent you, there should be a drop-down menu about where you heard about them, and you say if you heard about them from 2MB Studios, we make a little bit of money. So that's our fun little relationship with them. And the reason we entered into that relationship is because we like them, and we think they're really funny and smart and experienced and trustworthy. And you should take a course with them. And we wouldn't have partnered with them unless we were super into what they were doing. Otherwise, we'd be like, hit the road, Buster. But we didn't do that because that wouldn't convey our true feelings about their work. So without any further ado, now that I've told you how to continue this thing we're doing, let's write some tweets. I got my Google Doc up. The Google Doc is just here so that we can kind of see the process together, making sure that this this is big enough for everybody, so you can really see the work as it comes out of my thought, my thought beam, my thought bubble, my thought basket. I'm gonna call my brain a thought basket. A lot of tweeting is just about finding the funniest words. What's the funniest way of saying something while still getting the basic idea across. Thought beams, I love that. You're welcome. Cool. And then the other part of this is getting onto the internet, because what's wonderful about tweets is you get to just write them. You just get to write them and post them, and it's not like a novel that no one has read that you've been working on since you were a young man. And it's not like a pile of short stories which you threw into the fireplace because either they were bad or you were unwell or some combination of the two. Tweets are written to be seen. I don't really tend to believe in the concept of a draft folder. I don't really have one because I figure tweets are so short that either I should come up with them in the moment, or if the idea is basically sound, it will return to me like a boomerang full of words that haven't quite gotten there yet. So that's my thoughts. I'm going to return to the chat for 1 second. Kat says, I just go zoop zoop when I forget the name for a paper cutter, which I use with higher frequency than most people. I am now realizing a zoop zoop is a fine name for a paper cutter if you have enough context clues. Context clues are really the bread and butter of any communicator and anyone attempting for any length of time communication. So I'm just gonna, you may notice I'm sometimes looking down. That's because in lieu of getting a second monitor, I'm using my phone to read the comments, and that's why my phone is perched at the base of my desktop screen with a Verizon statement covering up the part where I would see my face, because I can't imagine how awful it would be to look at myself while I did this. You all are much braver than I. So we're gonna write some tweets today. I've rambled on for a good 16 minutes now. I'm like, that's time that I have wasted. So we're going to write some. We're going to write some good tweets today. So today I thought we would write some jokes about the inclement weather. I think that I don't know to what extent the rest of the country is experiencing a vast and powerful snowfall, but those in the Boston area are, and that's what we've been thinking about. And that's what we can tweet about right now. Snow is obviously, there's a whole culture which extends from the concept and phenomenon of snow, which we can explore through the art of joke writing. So right now I'm just gonna kind of ramble a bit on the page. We're gonna brainstorm a bit on the page together, and we're just gonna come out with some basic ideas or seed ideas. If you've ever performed a herald or a long improv set, you may have heard the phrase like seed ideas. It's not an entire premise or concept, but there's something interesting, an interesting idea or thought, which might lead to a stronger premise once we build upon it. So we're going to do some of that right now. Snow angels. Obviously, you build an angel in the snow while you're lying down, and that's kind of a fun thing. Snowmen. We're going to write a snowman joke tonight. Folks, I don't know if it'll be any good. Snowmen are very well-worn territory, but we're going to try. Isabel writes in the comments, we've been unusually warm in Manitoba, even this week, which has gotten somewhat colder than the past few, is still pretty warm. Manitoba, I know, just let me kind of see one moment. I believe it's in Canada, and I just want to see where in Canada. I'm like, I think it's southern Canada, but I'm just very curious right now. I swear I'll get back to my work. So yeah, Manitoba is, well, you could be north or south in Manitoba. I didn't realize how tall Manitoba was until I looked at it. Yeah, we share a border with North Dakota. Wow. I've been, I think I am admittedly a fairly provincial individual. I don't do a ton of traveling. It's expensive and I'm scared. And now it's impossible. But I've only really been to Canada. I think I spent one weekend in Montreal once. So obviously, I don't know that much about Canada, or that is, I don't know more about Canada than other Americans. But I see it's a very tall, it's a tall boy. It's a real Narragansett of a province, or province, right? Um, I'm in Winnipeg. If you're trying to place me. Oh, Winnipeg, cool. We don't have to stalk you too much. I don't necessarily want this show to become about me finding out exactly where one person who's watching the show is from. But it seems lovely. It seems lovely. It seems, oh, you have a nice skating rink. So an outdoor skating area somewhere in your province. Looks lovely. That looks like Boston. That bridge looks just like the Zen Bridge. So that's very nice. Loaf says Canada's broken up into very large pieces compared to the States. Yeah, the States are bullshit, absurdities. I don't even know. Now that I'm looking at the Canadian provinces, I'm like, cool. There's like, they're not all the same size or shape, but there seems to be some sort of logic. You're like, okay, like 4 boys down here, 3 boys up here. They're all boys. All all tracts of land are boys. But that seems fairly logical to just have like 6 pieces. So congratulations on your country. Cool. So we're gonna do some. We're gonna go back to the jokes. But I do enjoy learning anything because I don't know much. One day I'll visit Canada. And I'm like, the chances of a Dear Zachary situation super low. So I'm sure me and my child will be safe. I assume I'll have a child by then. I don't know why. No particular reason to believe that. So we're gonna go into some snow jokes, snow angels, snowman, other things about snow shoveling, peeing in snow. That's always a fun pastime. Kat says all tracts of land are boys and all bodies of water are girls. Kat gets it. And shores are non-binary. That's how land works. So peeing in snow. You're not supposed to eat the yellow snow. You're not supposed to eat the yellow snow. The assumption is that it is it's suffused urine. That said, green snow. You're not supposed to eat the yellow snow. The assumption is that it is suffused with urine. That said, green snow is actually quite delicious and can be either where someone limed or watermeloned, depending. The assumption is that someone has peed on it. That said, green snow is actually quite delicious and can be either as it's where someone either threw a lime or broke a watermelon, depending on which neighborhood you're in. This is like a little funny. Insult says Skittles changing lime to green apple is some nonsense. Insult, I couldn't agree with you more. Lime is, a perpetually disrespected flavor in the food in the candy ancestry. So we're gonna. You may notice someone said it actually unnerved them how quickly I would write and then simply post. And that's part of the charm of tweeting, friends. Tweeting is there to be tweeted. Tweets are there to be tweeted. If you write a post, just send it. Writing a lot of tweets makes it more likely for you to reach the tweet, which sort of assembles itself quickly and is posted with pleasure and is duly appreciated by your followers. So this may not be the most famously successful tweet I've ever written, but what's important is that we just keep writing, and eventually the tweets that people love will begin to reveal themselves. And that's sort of my process, to put it sort of in short terms. Kat says, I feel validated. Thank you, Insult. I think we can all agree that we can actually make this tweet about it. Skittles changing lime to green apple is some nonsense. I don't care what the cause of death was. I think. First, let me tweet this. You're not supposed to eat the yellow snow. The assumption that someone has peed on it. That said, green snow is actually quite delicious, as it's where someone either threw a lime or broke a watermelon. Depending on which neighborhood, it depends on the neighborhood. And I just broke that up. I made it suddenly shorter because it struck me that there was a possibility that the joke or punchline or end the button on that joke might play harder if it were its own sentence. I can't vouch for that until it enters the wild. But it occurred to me in that moment, and it seemed to be the thing to do. 2MB Studios writes, fun fact, you can get lime Skittles in their orchard packs. Seems like that would be a better fit for green apple, so just get a pack of each and swap the greens. I like how that's both extremely logical and totally deranged behavior. Skittles changing lime to green apple is some nonsense. I don't care what the crate was filled with that broke the nose of Jonathan Skittle as he was walking by some supply trucks. This is one of my favorite types of jokes, or like broad category of joking, which is creating like absurd or very extreme circumstances to explain a fairly quotidian or banal state of being. You might think, why did the Skittles change from lime to green apple? One might assume that there were some series of meetings and conferences and focus group and focus testing, and it was all very boring and stupid. And you're like, wouldn't it have been funnier if Jonathan Skittle, which an embedded joke, the idea that Skittles are run by a man named Jonathan Skittles, and that's why they're called that, which I love. I think that everything should be called itself because the creator had its last name. I would love for books to have been invented by Mary Book, or lamps to have been invented by Theodore Lamp. I just think that's really funny. Call it broad humor, if you will, invented by Meredith Broad. But what I really love is just creating silly, dramatically satisfying reasons for things. Let me do that. It's very distracting when other people's tweets come up during the show, and all I want to do is stop writing and just read them. And I'm like, the show is about posting new jokes, not reading other people's. So I have to make sure that my focus is relatively trained on the task at hand. Although I could just spend a whole show reading other people's tweets. That would be fun for me. Would it be fun for anyone else? I doubt it. So, Skittles changing lime to green apple. Skittles changing the green ones from lime to green apple is some nonsense. I don't care what the crate was filled with that fell, breaking the arm and nose of Jonathan Skittles as he was walking by some supply trucks. That seems like a good joke. Cool. And so, yeah, that was just a joke that naturally came up. And what was it? Ansalt. I really liked sort of this first sentence struck me as very evocative and interesting and worth exploring in a subsequent sentence or two. And that's why I took it up as a base premise for the next tweet I wrote. So thank you. We can go back to our original sort of base of operations, our original sort of point of inspiration, snow-related tweets. So, how to make a snow angel, become God, invent snow, impregnate a human being, impregnate a human, wait for the child to become restless during a storm, provide enough snow to be displaced by their small form. So this was a joke that I just wrote, obviously, right in front of you in this moment. And what inspired it is just simply looking at how to make a snow angel and making the assumption or having the thought, okay, I have to write the normal process of how to make a snow angel, and then we'll find the joke there somewhere as I'm writing. And then I had a subsequent thought, inspired by that thought. What if I started from absurdity? What if I started the absurdity a little bit higher up? Instead of creating a mostly correct instructional manual on how to make a snow angel, what if I simply began as God? Wouldn't that be fun? And then you think, oh, maybe God would be making some sort of snow angel, like an archangel. But then the subversion becomes God is still making a snow angel. And then you could probably add on a tag. You could like anthropomorphize or bring to sentience the displaced snow to populate your kingdom of heaven. So now with that tag, it's went from a snow angel on the ground to another, like a snow angel. And we'll see if there's room for that tag. Sometimes the problem with tags is that you run out of room for them. Cool. So we're gonna do this. Enough room. How to become a snow angel, become God, invent snow. Or maybe start as God. Impregnate a human. Wait for the child to become restless during a storm. Provide enough snow to be displaced by their small form. And then finally endow that displaced snow with sentience and magical energy. So they can join your kingdom of heaven. One little absurdist surreal humor for you. Insult says, Frosty, I thought that was the non-religious winter movie option. Frosty is very fun. I don't know if Frosty is ever has any sort of like religious connotations. It's been a while since I've watched. I don't know if I've actually ever watched his stop motion claymation, whatever. You do think it's kind of funny that Frosty is pagan. It is funny to think that so much of our kind of cultural nostalgia for the concept of Christmas is really like sourced in these kind of series of plasticine stop motion films that are very probably kind of strange and would be someone's art project in another very similar universe, and instead they've sorry, I heard rambling or rumbling behind me, and I'm like, is that a raccoon? No, it's probably my father. uh but yeah, these like Rankin Bass cartoons strike me as very accidentally like hugely important in our, cultural consciousness. Anyway, I don't have any particular joke about that. It's just something I was musing on for a moment. Let's keep going. So, one thing my parents asked me to do is like, Rachel, will you help shovel tomorrow? And I'm like, okay, I guess so. Oh, hey, it's my dog. It's actually my dog. He's probably come in for some water. Not, not that that's distracting. It's always important to help your parents shovel the walk after a snowstorm. Typically, that is where it's always important to help your parents shovel the walk after a snowstorm. I think that is typically, after all, it is customary for them to customary for parents to lay changed wills on the pavement as the clouds gather to lay their will. It's up to you to secure your inheritance by retrieving it with your shovel. So here I'm sort of building this kind of silly fantasy of a parent's, not only one's particular parents, but in this case, a custom among all parents to lay their will on the pavement, so that people are then compelled pragmatically to shovel the. Oh yeah, Prince. That was my dog. I don't know if you could see him in the back of my head, but that was my dog who just kind of rambled through. So this is in this joke. It's like it's customary for the parents to do this, so therefore it becomes a pragmatic or practical solution to help them with shoveling. It's a little bit absurd. I don't know how much I care for it, but it's the shoveling joke I had at the time. You may find if you watch the show enough that I don't love all my jokes, but I feel compelled to get them out of my head. That's a sort of a gift I give to myself. Their new absence from my brain. So we're just gonna tweet that and then see how it does in the wild. And sometimes the jokes that you don't love are jokes that other people end up loving a lot. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, we did shovel joke, we did a snow angels joke, we did a peeing and snow joke. So we really only have snowmen to go left. Let's see. The problem with snowmen is they have carrots for noses. This presents the difficulty of, and then that's where a joke is. I was trying to think of like if there's a joke that like a joke that about the snowman catching some disease from its organic components. Hot chocolate joke? Ooh, we could do a hot chocolate joke. And now you may be thinking as you're watching the show, hot chocolate joke. what's funny about hot chocolate? Nothing is inherently funny about hot chocolate. And you'd be surprised if we dig into any of these sort of superficially banal subjects. You're trying to find sort of a premise, sort of an um, agreed upon meaning or agreed upon scenario where something takes place or is important. And once you've got that, then you have sort of the very base, the who, what, where of the base structure of a joke, an opportunity for subversion. You're like, oh, we usually drink hot chocolate like this, but wouldn't it be funny if someone did it this way or said this thing about it or felt this way about it? And that's where your fun punchlines come in. So actually, we're gonna put this carrot joke aside because I don't have anything for it yet. And we're gonna say hot chocolate. Hot chocolate is great when you put marshmallows in it. Hot chocolate is a wonderful drink to have when you come out of the cold. You come in from the cold. You don't come out of the cold, you come in from the cold. It is also a pleasant, also a satisfactory drink when you come out from the hot. Where it surprisingly shines is when you come up from the warm. I wouldn't recommend it when you come down from the cool. Now I'm just laughing because we're getting into real silly territory. Come down from the cool, like what does that even mean? And for this one, this is just like a pattern joke. Sometimes when you write a sentence, you'll notice something that's patternable. You're like, come in from the cold, and you're like, okay, what would happen? Would it be funny to come regarding different directions from various types of heat, because it is kind of a strange construction. You don't typically think of location in terms of temperature, but we do have this common phrase, "come in from the cold." So what if we played with it and see if it could reasonably extend to these different orientations and sort of climates? And I think it sounds a bit silly, and that's where the joke comes in, from the acknowledgement that we have this phrase and that it's funny to extend it to other things. So I'm just going to read this one more time. Hot chocolate is a wonderful drink to have when you come in from the cold. It is also satisfying. Shorten this up a bit. It's also satisfying when you come out from the hot. Where it shines, it's when you come up from the warm. I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it when you come down. That said, said I wouldn't recommend it when you come down from the cool. And that is your hot chocolate tweet. Cool. Let's return to our snowman joke, because I would like to write a snowman joke today. Obviously, snowmen, joking about them is a rich tradition. For example, whoever has ever read a comic has likely read Calvin and Hobbes, which did a whole series of like snowmen antics. Oh, thank you, Kat. Snowman antics. There was a lot of jokes that people made during that time when that strange kind of awful looking thriller came out with the snowman. I think it was called The Snowman, and the snowman was like this sad little drawing, and it looked, come on, officer, I gave you all the clues. And I think the premise is that they kept finding bodies stuffed inside snowmen, and that was the premise of that film. And the detective was named Harry Hole, which is very strange. And I think it was played by that handsome actor, but I can't remember his name now. But in any case, we're going to try to see if the problem. What's fun about snowmen is that they are so evocative. Everyone knows what they are. You don't have to explain them very much. People are on the same page with you very quickly about them. The challenge with snowmen is that they are such a well-worn covered topic in kind of the pop culture at large. To have a unique take on them may take a little bit of crafting. So let's look at this here. The problem with snowmen is that they have carrots for noses. Let's see if we can think about this a little bit. A snowman walking into a grocery store would see, Insult says, did you know this Japanese stereotypical snowman usually has 2 snowballs, not 3? That is fascinating. I love that. I love that even something as simple as that would have cultural norms. Carrot noses are GMO, genetically magical organisms. Aw. I'm sorry, my dog is sniffing around and being a little guy. So let me think of some. Snowman walking into a grocery store, seeing a pile of carrots on display. Fuck man. He's like, oh my god. Fuck man, this sucks. Here's how. This is So this is my attempt at a snowman joke. A snowman walking into a grocery store seeing a pile of carrots on display. Fuck man, this sucks. This is weird as hell. Get me out of this snow store. So dumb. Sometimes when you can't think of a really good idea, sometimes you just should have the character swear and be befuddled and horrified. that snowman is put off. That snowman should not be in a grocery store. I don't know how he got in there, but he did, and therefore he created an opportunity to be horrified. Cool. Let's do some more. So we did a snowman joke. We can do another snowman joke. Snowman jokes are pretty fun. Let's see also. We're going to do snowball fight. All fun and games until you throw a snowball made from what was the WMDs made of yellow something WMDs made of yellow. A second. I'm trying to think if there was a particular phrase. Yellow cake, right? Yellow cake, was that uranium? Yeah, yellow cake, uranium. So you can say, snowball fights are all fun and games until you throw a ball made from yellow snow. Yellow cake, uranium. This is obviously very funny because instead of P, it is actually, it is a legitimately horrible and catastrophic mode of warfare. And that makes it fun. Cool. I feel like we are cooking a little bit more gas than we were previously. I'm pretty happy with the last 2 tweets. I think one of the challenges I have with this show in particular is that while I think that I kind of provide an insight into the basic mechanics or building blocks of creating a joke, sometimes I'm a little bit self-conscious about providing jokes that make sense to viewers, and therefore I lose maybe some of that sort of je ne sais quoi, that sort of like laissez-faire, sort of like who gives a shit kind of laid back cash feeling, which can often sell a joke or push it further into the mode of success that I can hit when I'm not necessarily trying as hard. So that is a challenge that I face in the show, and I will continue to face it and do my best. Pearly says it's because I showed up and said, "Oh my god." Pearly is right. They are the reason that the last two tweets were good. So not that I don't think I've written any stinkers today. I think they're all fine. But tweets need to be pretty good for them to start to travel. Like, you can write a good tweet and it just not get picked up by anybody because people actually have a fairly high standard for the tweets that they tend to share, which is hard to admit to yourself when your tweets aren't doing pretty good. So let's do some more. So snow makes me think of, I've already said all this stuff. Christmas lights. Christmas lights are fun because they are pretty and they're pleasant to think about. It's fun to start a joke with something that's inherently like pleasurable to visualize or to recreate within your senses. You're already in sort of a good mood, therefore people may take the joke about it in a nice way because they're not they're already sort of primed to have a good time, if you can say that. So Christmas lights. The hardest part of Christmas lights is untangling them from their box. Obviously, I'm recreating a relatable scenario. My dog is going to be, just for the record, if you hear my dog barking behind me in the other room, it's because he is barking because he is no longer in his elder years able to climb the stairs with his little dog legs. So instead, he barks until someone gallantly picks him up and takes him up the stairs with their human legs. So generally, this is the part of my activity where I would pause what I'm doing, go over to my dog, pick him up, and bring him up. But obviously, I'm doing a show. So we're all just going to have to listen to him bark for the next 15 minutes or so. Peruli said, "Sure, we've all taken Christmas lights from a box and hid today. These are all tangled up." He is a little gentleman. He's very sweet. He's 13 years old, and he's a little Pomeranian mix. He's our favorite. So the hardest part of Christmas lights is untangling from their box. So we've established a highly, highly relatable scenario, and now we're going to be like, how do we subvert it? The hardest part of Christmas lights is untangling them from their box. The second hardest part is going. The second hardest part is realizing these are not your Christmas lights at all, but that they do contain clues to where your Christmas lights, to the whereabouts. True whereabouts. The second part is retangling them for next year. That's also very good. Guys, it's time to retangle the lights. Obviously, if you come up with your own punchlines, I would always I think my dog is annoyed because there's no more water in his bowl. Oh, we've really left him out of sorts tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and others and other people. Just 1 second. Actually, I can't leave. I'm the face of this show. There's nobody else. This is all the show is. It's just me. I can't leave my post. The hardest part of Christmas lights is untangling them from their box. The second hardest part is realizing these are not your Christmas lights at all, but that they do contain clues to your true Christmas lights to your Christmas lights true whereabouts. I think that's kind of a fun joke. Oh, poor little fellow. Yes, this is the subplot of tonight's show is that my dog is gently confronting various disappointments. The hardest part of Christmas lights is untangling them from their box. The second hardest part is realizing these are not your Christmas lights at all. They are imposters. But they do, but that they do contain clues to your Christmas lights' true whereabouts. National Treasure Christmas Edition. Prince, my show has another few minutes. Can anybody bring up the dog? Can someone be a mensch? I'm sorry. I live with my parents, and I'm like, none of them can come up, bring the dog up. So frustrating. I'm on camera. I can't do anything useful. This is the useless thing to which I have committed myself for the time being. So we're gonna write a few more jokes. I know. And things are heating up at the Andelman Casa de la Andelman. I hope that wasn't my fuck it, we'll do it live moment. Although perhaps it was. Everyone's like, I can't believe she yelled during her show for someone to bring the dog up. What a huge asshole. Let's do a couple more other snow jokes. Snow globes are obviously fun. Obviously there was that sitcoms. Really like I like it. It's like running side plot. Yeah, this is like one of those like mumblecore films where like nothing happens, but things sort of vaguely transpire in a very low stakes way. It's like one of those. It's like I don't know who's that guy. I was watching a mumblecore movie. It was like that guy who's in all the mumblecore movies, and then it was like Sarah Polly and I'm like, these guys would never be together. But the whole premise of the movie is that they were like old flames. But I'm like, I don't believe this for even half a moment. And so I can't wait for the Prince cameo each episode. I know. I think I need to figure out a way to like bring him up to the camera. But right now, like the camera's too high. I kind of have to really like force him up to get a nice camera shot. Like he doesn't enjoy the process of being on camera as we've currently oriented things. So maybe we'll figure it out. So a way for him to be on camera comfortably. Because I think I do need to give you guys what you want, which is my dog. Let's see. What else? Snow globes. Snow globes offer a way to imagine a world untouched by the harsh events of reality. Like to live in a snow globe one day. With a man with a giant face outside my endless window says that's bad. Shouldn't be getting any ideas. It's a little joke about how the narrator secretly has been, in fact, inside a snow globe the entire time. That's just like a fun little thing. Beep. Because what if you were inside a snow globe the entire time? But you also had like knowledge of snow globes? Pretty crazy. Next week, my dog learns how to talk. Folks, if my dog learned how to talk, my mom would be so fucking happy. She's always like, don't you wish the dog could talk? And I'm like, Mom, he gets his point across. Yeah, it's always fun to like, one way of, to me, this is not as, I guess the joke is the subversion. You assume that people inside of a snow globe would not be aware of snow globes. So in the sense that every joke is a subversion of expectations, that is sort of the implied expectation which we then subverted. Isabel says, well, you can see the little people within your snow globe, so you kind of put two and two together about the nature of your glass-contained world. You would think so, but I think that like the robots from Westworld, they have either been programmed to or have certain mechanisms which prevent them from understanding their true nature. If you've seen Westworld. I don't think it's a spoiler for Westworld. I think they explained that in the first episode. I'm pretty sure this was covered in the documentary Under the Dome. Under the Dome and also Biodome. Those guys are, to the extent they are aware of anything, they're vaguely aware they're in Biodome. Who's to say the whole universe isn't a snow globe on God's desk? Well, that would be pretty silly, because why would God need a desk? I think if God did have snow globes, it would be on God's mantle, because I think of God as having fire, but not necessarily day-to-day office tasks. It was also the plot of Men in Black. Well, like kind of at the end, it's kind of like a little sight gag. It's more of a sight gag than a plot, unless they explore that. I've only seen the first Men in Black, so if they explore that more in the subsequent films, then I am lost. God is a pencil pusher. I love that phrase, pencil pusher. Pencil pushers have it too easy. Yesterday, I pushed a baby out. You don't see me complain or brag about it. The process has left me. I am devastatingly neutral about the process. This is my little silly sort of almost stream of consciousness joke. Where it's like, what else could you push besides a pencil? A baby? Thank you for also being active in the chat. I couldn't be more thankful you're active in the chat. It's really helpful in terms of me just coming up with these jokes. I feel like half of the jokes tonight have just been things you guys have said and then me like adding a line. So thank you for saying things and helping me be inspired during the show. I really can't be sufficiently grateful. Yeah. Also, if you're enjoying the show, if you can do me a favor. So we had to cancel a show today because we hadn't prepared one of our texts for the particular streaming platform. It was very silly and avoidable and unfortunate. So if you could all do me a favor and watch Tawanda Draws next week at Wednesday at 7 to make it up to him for our failing him in terms of the tech of his show, that would be wonderful because Tawanda is hilarious. You might have seen him on Liberating, Laughing for Liberation, the fundraiser event we held for Surge Boston about almost a week ago now. So definitely catch him next week. He does his webcomic. He draws his webcomic live on his show the way I do my jokes live on my show. He's super funny. So definitely catch him next week at 7 p.m. Eastern. Like catch it as a way to make it up to him and then like watch the whole show because it's really funny. Oh, thank you, Peruli. You're the best. Guys, give it up for Peruli in the chat. Being cool. Being nice. Really cool. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you guys. We're obviously just a tiny channel and we're just trying to make some stuff for you all. Yeah, let's do a couple more couple more jokes to close out this evening. I hope you have been having a good time. Again, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. This one thing I like about the show is that it just gives me a reason to remember how to talk. I don't really see anybody throughout the day. Most of my communication is like electronic, and so just even though I'm talking into the dead eye of a camera on top of my desktop screen, it still feels like a form of communication that I am mostly or more or less deprived of to a large extent throughout the rest of my days. So I really do appreciate you all kind of congregating here and sharing the show with me. So thank you for that. To do some more jokes before we close it out for the evening, let's do one more joke about snow. What else haven't we done? Snow globes, snow shovels, snowman, sledding. Yeah, let's do a sledding joke. Rosebud is the name of his sled. Sledbud is the name of my rose. Rosebud, Sledbud, Budbud. Budbud is the name. Rosebud was the name of his sled. Sledbud was the name of his rose. Budbud was the name of his what was it? Sled rose. His slows. Citizen Kane was a brilliant and ultimately his slows. Citizen Kane was a rich man with a lot of things to name. Lots of possessions to refer to. Obviously, we're cheating a bit because, as we all know, Rosebud was a possession he had as I believe, not a cheap child, a poor child. Like, what's the word for poverty? Poor. Rosebud was his sled as a poor young child. So obviously, we're cheating a bit, assuming or implying that Rosebud was one of his many possessions as a rich man. But I suspect that the joke, to the extent it plays at all, I don't know if it does. I assume it plays fairly effectively, regardless. So Rosebud was the name of his sled. Sledbud was the name of his rose. Budbud was the name of his slows. Citizen Kane was a rich man with lots of possessions. With lots of things he had to refer to. He needed to refer to. That's a little sled joke. Rosebud. Burley says, unfortunately, I've never seen the film, but I trust that this is funny to those who have. I saw the film a really long time ago. I recall it being good. A lot of these old movies are good or considered great because they basically invented forms of storytelling that did not exist in the world before them, and then those forms of storytelling would be copied and repeated throughout time by hundreds, if not thousands, of other films. So you watch the old movies and you're like, what's the big deal? And you're like, no, it actually invented what you're watching. It invented that. This didn't exist. But again, it's hard to appreciate old films without that kind of context often. Yeah, we'll do a couple more. I feel like I have a little bit of juice for a couple more for y'all. I have no idea how many people are watching. I didn't set up my thingy to refer to that amount, which is just as well, because seeing how many people are watching often makes me very anxious. So it's probably, as long as the chat is active, that's the only thing that ever freaks me out, is when no one's talking and you're like, am I just talking into a void? I don't know how most streamers do it. That seems scary to me, but as long as at least I'm like, okay, there's at least 3 people and they're all talking and it's all good. So it's just like hanging out with you 3 people. There may be others who are quiet, but the people talking are those who I'm aware of. So as much as I appreciate everyone. So let's do a couple more. So snow sledding, we did sledding. I've actually never seen A Christmas Story, so I probably should, so that I can make like A Christmas Story references. I know there's like a leg lamp. The guy's like tongue gets caught, and he's like wearing a big snowsuit. And those are my main references. I think there's also a bunny suit, but that's all I know about that film, and I really should watch it so I have context. Context for those kind of iconic images before I begin making my own jokes referring to those images outside of their context. Let's see what else is there. So there's Christmas, obviously. Christmas is coming up. Really, I unfortunately have also never seen this film. What if I could swear I could just do a whole show where I just explain films that I've seen a little bit of. Alan Monkey says streamers tend to accept the void, embrace the void, sometimes are legally obligated to stay 100 feet away from the void, but continue to talk to it. Oh, that's a good joke. The void does look back at you. The void is like this big. I think if the camera were bigger, I would feel more impressed by the void. But the camera is a fairly small little pinprick of a thing, so I feel relatively strong and weighty compared to it. Ansel says, just like Rankin Bass, I've heard A Christmas Story also gained cultural cachet because of it being in reruns. Folks, what can our culture rely on? There's do people still watch things more than once? It's unclear. Rankin Bass, man, though, what an act. So strange. Christmas is coming up. 2MB Studios has the same deal with It's a Wonderful Life. I don't think I've seen that either. I've only seen it's copulating, not copulating, it's like multiple parodies. It's sort of populous. I've lost the word for many. You're like, oh, I lost the word. What's the word for like when bread is like, it's like it got hot and now it's black? Is there a word for that? I can't deal with it. Boof says Rankin Bass made a Lord of the Rings movie too. I know there's like a cartoon Lord of the Rings, and then there's like the 2001 Lord of the Rings, which are, by the way, 2001, 20 years ago. The Lord of the Rings movies are 20 years old, which I think is wild. It's funny to think of those movies being classics, but they're probably like in talks to reboot them, like as this stream is going on. You're like, but no, those movies are fine. Everyone loves those movies. They're the fans like them, and people who didn't read the books think they're good. And why reboot them? But guys, it's been 20 years. Time to make more money. Seriously. Let's do a couple of more. Did anybody watch the new Rebecca? I heard that was shitty. Boof says, maybe. Pearly says, whoa. Pearly says, I'm excited to see Frodo reboot with even larger eyes and curlier dark hair. Yeah, his eyes will just start to take over his whole face. Like, he'll look exactly... In fact, the remaking of Lord of the Rings will have the effect on Frodo with his multiple iterations that the ring that whatever made Gollum like he did. Like, I forget why Gollum turned into a thing. He turned into like a little fish guy. But Frodo will start to just end up looking exactly like Gollum by iteration number 20. Oh, Thrasher announced the Skater of the Year. I made a joke about that being inconsequential to the show last time, and I guess I should follow up on it. So congrats to Mason Silva. Congratulations, Mason Silva, who I don't know. Boo says there's a Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings cartoon too that might be the one with Nimoy. So there's a Rankin Bass Lord of the Rings and a Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings. So basically there's a Lord of the Rings where Frodo doesn't fuck and the Lord of the Rings where he definitely fucks. Because when I think of Ralph Bakshi, I'm like, that version fucks. I assume. Yeah, because you're like, yeah, Ralph Bakshi. Did he do anyway, all of the questions I have that you have can be answered by the internet. Boof says Bakshi is a horn dog, and I would say most professional cartoonists, not to put too fine a point on it, but they all either fuck or desperately wish they were fucking every moment. That's sort of the Crumb legacy. Like all cartoonists are very horny. I think it's because you have to draw all day and you're never touching yourself. Really says he's not the only one. Ayo. All cartoonists are horn dogs because Alien Monkey says questions you have and questions you never wanted to have can be answered by the internet. All cartoonists are horn dogs because you're always holding. Now, I don't want to write a joke like that. I follow a lot of cartoonists. Their lives are hard enough. Let's do like one or two more, probably one more. What else is there about winter and snowfall? Snowing. Cutting down your own Christmas tree. Tree is tough. Sometimes there's an owl in there. Sometimes that owl is like, I have knowledge to impart to the rats of Nim. Sometimes you stumble upon a whole fantasy thing. Meanwhile, Sharon's back in the car. Snow is now falling. Guys, give it up to the snow. It got here. It's doing its little job. It's piling its little guys on top of each other. Cutting down your own Christmas tree is tough. Sometimes there's an owl in there. Sometimes that owl is like, I have knowledge to impart to the rats of Nim. Sometimes you stumble upon a whole fantasy hero's journey thing. Meanwhile, Sharon's back in the car. Is texting you. Meanwhile, Sharon's back in the sob. She's back in the sob. So yeah, I was just thinking about the owl that they found in the tree, the Rockefeller Center tree, which, by the way, it's fucked up that they cut a huge tree for that fucking thing. They should be using fake trees. Just one woman's opinion. I'm thinking, okay, there's an owl in that tree, you're disturbing nature, but like, what if it were like a bigger, more involved deal? And then still your wife is, I assume Sharon's your wife. Sharon's like a very like wife name. Like, I think if your name is Sharon, you were born married. Sharon's texting you, she's back in the sub. And cool, and so that's that one. So that's our little Christmas tree joke. And let's just see if we can do like one more. I feel like I'm gonna do one more. Just one more joke before we have to put our heads like this. This is how I sleep. I just rest my head on my two hands, poised in prayer, hoping God doesn't kill me from my left. I assume God's always poised to strike me down from my left side, so this is why I pray in this direction. He's too busy making snow angels. Christmas is fun because it's about baby being born. And I'm trying to think of, I feel like all the manger jokes, everything about mangers is so overdone or like well trodden. Christmas is fun because it's about a baby being born somewhere weird. Like Jesus was the modern day equivalent would be parking lot baby or a Benny's baby. Have to hand it to that baby. It did not wait for. The manger was like, yeah, it's basically like a stable, but like a one-room stable for animals. He did not wait for a. Scooted. Insel says I'm gonna get fucked by Denny's corporate Twitter. I'm saying if a baby was born in Denny's, it would be Jesus. Okay, if anything, that's a compliment to Denny's that God's son or whatever is true in that mythology would be born into Denny's. Anything, you should be thanking me for this tweet and not condemning me. Like it was late for. Oh, you mean retweeted? I get it. When I said added, I just assumed you were cursing. Who would be born at a Wendy's? Great question. Wendy, who is the female version of Jesus? So I think that's it for me tonight. It's 10:21, which I think is a lovely, guys. Zero characters left. We nailed it. Perfect amount of letters. I'm secretly always really proud when any of my tweets are exactly at the character limit because I secretly feel like those are the ones that are real. So I'm just gonna tweet that right now. Thank you so much, Pearly. Guys, this has been Joy of Posting. Thank you for hanging out with me as I attempt to write some good jokes, attempt to explain how those jokes came to be in my head, or how they came from my head to my fingers and onto the keyboards, which transmitted to the screen. You can see the show every 9 o'clock Eastern time, Eastern Standard Time right now, because I'm in Boston. That's the East Coast. This is how I think of time. This is what time means to me. You can see this every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have great shows coming up. Tomorrow is Thursday, so catch Kendra Dossie's show Left Night at 7:30, and then Quarantine Action Wrestling for the rest of the night after. Beginning at 8. Again, we fucked up Tawanda's stream tonight, so try to catch him next Wednesday at 7. It would mean a lot to me personally because I feel bad and he's very funny, and you should catch someone who's funny. Again, also follow and subscribe, support the channel. We work really hard and we'd love for this to be sustainable. Buy some merch, take a class. Otherwise, love yourselves and love your friends and stay alive. Good night.